Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So we are continuing on reacting to episode 2 of the HBO documentary Phoenix Rising with Evan Rachel Wood, where she recounts her relationship and the alleged abuse / sexual assault that she went through with her partner at the time, Marilyn Manson. I just filmed and I uploaded the very first episode reaction video. If you have not seen that yet, I highly recommend that you watch that one before you watch this one. I mean, unless you want to watch them out of order. I mean, do you, boo? It's your life. But today we are going to be talking about episode 2 of Phoenix Rising, which is titled Stand Up. And this one, I think I liked the first part a little more than this one. I mean, it doesn't really matter what part I liked best. I mean, this all just sucks, honestly. We're going to be talking about things that stood out to me, things I noticed, things that I want to talk about. This episode actually started off pretty strong because we had a person come forward who actually worked with Manson, talk about stuff and confirmed a few things, which I thought was pretty wild. I did go over some disclaimers in the first part of this, and I will just quickly repeat them now. Number one, I am not taking one side over the other. I am not team anybody here, okay? There is not enough evidence out to even consider taking a side right now. I am a fan of both people in this situation. I am a Marilyn Manson fan and I am an Evan Rachel Wood fan. Another thing is, please do not compare the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard to this case, okay? This is completely separated. I understand that Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson are best friends. I understand that Marilyn Manson is the godfather to Johnny Depp's daughter, Lily Rose Depp. I get that, okay? People are entwined here, but that does not mean we can compare them. Please do not compare them. Another thing is, please do not bully down in the comments, okay? We are here to have discussions. We are here to talk about the facts. We are not here to bully. We are not here to name call. We are not here to be hateful. If you see a comment that differs from your own personal opinion, don't call them a fucking retard. Don't call them names. Don't cuss at them. Don't threaten them. Like, you guys, come on now. Let's all get along here. Let's have a discussion. Let's not fight. This is supposed to be a safe place for everybody. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into this and talk about episode 2 of the Phoenix Rising documentary. So like I said, this episode started off pretty strong. It started off with Dan Gleary, who was actually a former assistant to Marilyn Manson, allegedly, who worked with Marilyn Manson on tour between 2007 and 2008. He came forward and pretty much confirmed all of these accusations to be true. He came forward on his Twitter account. Are those tweets still up? Is his Twitter account still up? I have no idea, but they did show the tweets in the documentary. I have not taken the time to look for them and read through them firsthand, but I do know that he came forward in this documentary, which I thought was a very powerful start. I was like, whoa, like I wasn't expecting a man. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but I wasn't expecting a man to come forward and confirm these kind of things. And soon after, Evan Rachel Wood actually held a survivors meeting where her and a bunch of these women came forward who were, you know, Marilyn Manson's exes or ex-assistants. They all sat down and discussed their abuse that they experienced, and they did show this in the documentary, which I found to be very invasive because if it were me, I would not want to discuss this kind of thing with cameras. You know, I don't know, that's just me though. But I thought that was very interesting, and they all of their experiences sounded very, very similar. And as far as I'm aware now, a lot of these women have actually been discredited as far as their evidence and their stories. Cases have been thrown out, cases have been dismissed, their evidence was found to be fake. Like, I think this one girl, I can't remember her name, I think it was like Ashley or something. She actually got a picture off of Pinterest of like a neck bite and said that that was from Manson, but it was found to be just a picture she got from Pinterest. Like, what the fuck, you know? So I know a lot of these victims and a lot of these victim stories have since been discredited, but they did hold that survivors meeting. And then throughout a little more in the documentary, she talked more in depth about the abuse and the sexual abuse that she went through with Manson. I will not be going into detail about these things because this is actually where I got sick. I deal with my own trauma that I am now getting help with, thank the Lord. I went through a very toxic time in my life, and hearing like one of the instances that like she talked about that like Manson would do to her when she was sleeping, that like I actually had to turn it off. It hit pretty hard, and I was like hyperventilating, and I couldn't really breathe, and like my chest was getting really tight, and like it was getting hard to see. Like I was almost having like flashbacks. Like, thank Christ I'm in therapy now, because my therapist, I was like, help me. So if you're comfortable enough and you're really that curious, please go watch the documentary for yourself. It is a really good documentary. Like, you know, beside that, I really enjoyed watching it. I thought it was very interesting. As much as it sucked, you know, I thought it was a very good documentary. But, I mean, if you really want to, if you're comfortable enough and you can handle it, just please go watch it for yourself, because I'm not going to get into graphic detail here. It's just not necessary. And I actually didn't know this, but later on in the documentary, Evan Rachel Wood said that she actually became pregnant from Marilyn Manson. I had no idea. Allegedly, Marilyn Manson didn't approve of her being on birth control, or when she was on birth control, he didn't like it, or he didn't like the certain forms of birth control she was on, so he made her not take birth control, and she ended up pregnant. This pregnancy obviously was not carried out. It was terminated via abortion. You can't do that now in the USA, but back then you could. So apparently, you know, she got pregnant by Manson and she got an abortion for it. I did look into this further, and apparently Manson is saying that it was not his baby, it was somebody else's baby, and she was aborting it because she was with Manson and it wasn't his. And I mean, honestly, who the fuck knows? But like, shit, I didn't know that. I was like, what? No. Like, I need to see proof of this. With it being serious now, it was very heartbreaking for her to abort this baby, because obviously Manson wanted her to do it. Manson made her do it, but she didn't want to. I mean, most people who get an abortion, they don't want to, you know, it's hard, but it's what's best, and, you know, it's a very personal thing for everybody, but it was very heartbreaking for her. But all things considered, I understand why she did it. Now, another thing that I thought was very interesting, and one thing that Evan actually left out of this documentary, is we all know that Evan Rachel Wood and Marilyn Manson were in fact engaged for a period of time. Not like a long period of time. They shortly broke it off officially after that, but they were in fact engaged at one point in time. I believe that was like 2009 or 2010 is when she was engaged. But she completely left that part out of the documentary. She talked about the pregnancy, she talked about the abortion, she talked about the abuse, she talked about how she left and went back home for a little while and then went back to him. But she didn't talk about actually getting engaged, which I thought was interesting. I don't know why she didn't bring that up. Like, if she wants to be totally honest and transparent about this relationship, why wouldn't she bring that up? Did she not want to make herself look, you know, stupid, or did she not want to make herself look less credible by not bringing it up? But I mean, we all know that they were engaged for a little bit, okay? So why didn't she bring that up? I thought that was very interesting. Whew, I'm getting toasty. Oh my gosh, look at the dog hair. Look at the dog hair. And then later on in the documentary, it mainly starts to switch focus on her child that she had with her longtime boyfriend slash ex-husband slash baby daddy, Jamie Bell. They had a child together. Then they got, you know, divorced. They weren't actually legally ever married, but they did have like a ceremony, but like her ex-husband, whatever. They had a child together, and then they separated. And it talks about how Evan wanted to get away and take her child somewhere safe because she didn't feel safe. She thought Manson was going to come and kill her. I don't know. That part kind of seemed a little dramatic to me, not gonna lie. Like, Marilyn Manson is not going to try to kill you, okay? Like, he's in enough shit already. I really don't think he wants to add straight up murder to his list of shit right now, okay? So I just thought that was kind of like dramatic. So she goes and takes her child down south. Apparently it's somewhere in Tennessee. I don't really know. And Evan then spends 6 hours in the year of 2020 inside of an FBI agent's office, and they go over the whole story, all of the abuse she went to, all of the things that happened to her, just trying to build a case against Marilyn Manson so that justice can be served. And 6 months goes by after that, and the FBI hasn't said anything. You know, they can't legally disclose what they have if they do have anything. They can only provide updates about where they are in the case. Cases like this are incredibly complex and private, and they take a really, really long time. So if this long, and I think even now, there's still nothing against Marilyn Manson, like no criminal charges or anything. So I don't really know what's going to happen with this, because it seems like they can't really find any solid proof or evidence about anything. Now, at this point in time in 2020, Evan Rachel Wood still has not named her abuser to the public. And people, because, you know, she was on social media talking about her abuse, but in the public, like on Instagram and stuff, she was not naming her abuser. And that's when people started to get very critical of her, started to get very angry with her, calling her a liar, because, you know, she's talking about all this abuse, but she won't say who it is. I mean, now we all know, but when she was talking about her abuse, nobody had any idea who the hell she was talking about. So people began to think that she was lying, kind of dragging this out. And I can totally sympathize with her, because this kind of thing is not very easy. Like, when you have someone that you just want to shame publicly so much, but at the same time you don't want to do that because of the, you know, ridicule and the backlash and the revenge, you know, I can totally sympathize with her on that 100%. And especially with her being so public and, you know, being like an actress and a singer and having a really big following, like, I can totally understand why it wasn't easy for her to just kind of come out and name him. On February 1st, 2021, she did it, and she took to Instagram and named Brian Warner Marilyn Manson as her abuser. She did it at 4:00 p.m. And since then, Marilyn Manson's house has been searched. I did talk about this in my very first video on this, and he has been dropped from his record label. And when they did search his house, they didn't really find anything. They found no rape room, torture room, starvation room that Marilyn Manson talked about having, but he didn't actually have. That's one thing about Marilyn Manson, and I always kind of knew this kind of thing, is he talks out of his ass a lot. Like, you know, he'll say some pretty rash things in interviews, like, oh yeah, like, I raped a 15-year-old, it was great, and then we had dinner, blah, blah, blah. Like, he says things like that, but I mean, you gotta, if you follow Manson, you know, he just says things to shock you. He talks about having a rape room. Guess what? He doesn't have a rape room, okay? So, Marilyn Manson does get himself into trouble quite a bit with his mouth and what he says. He doesn't really think before he speaks. I mean, sometimes he does, and, you know, a lot of what he says is very intellectual, but other times it's like, why the fuck would you say that, bro? Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, when he said, like, oh, I have a rape room, blah, 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 and one of these girls went to the police with that, there isn't one. Like, they didn't find anything. They did seize a couple of things from his house, like hard drives and things like that, but, you know, I don't know if they ever found anything on those. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. It remains yet to be seen. And yes, Marilyn Manson unfortunately has been dropped from his record label, so I will be very shocked if we ever hear music from Manson again. I think We Are Chaos, his 2020 album release, I think that may have been his last album, because this ain't looking good for him, and especially since he doesn't have a record label now, like, I don't know. I will be very shocked if we ever hear Manson's music again. So anyway, getting back to the documentary, Evan Rachel Wood painted quite a picture of Marilyn Manson. I mean, literally, like, if you've seen the documentary, there are quite a few illustrations that were in the documentary, and it was, like, really making him look to be this devil, you know what I mean? It was very emotional. It was very, very hard to listen to at times, like I said. I did listen to all of it. You know, I listened to what she had to say, and I'm taking her for her word. Like, that's all I really can do right now. And, you know, still, Marilyn Manson has still been very radio silent. He has only released 2 statements, and his lawyers have released a couple of statements, but that's really it. I want to hear his side. You know, I want to hear what he has to say. Now, he did release that Google Doc with the case that he has since filed against Evan Rachel Wood, where he is suing her for defamation, emotional distress, you know, all this stuff. But I want to hear more. I listened to everything Evan Rachel Wood has to say, but now I want to hear from him. I want to hear from Marilyn Manson himself. Will we ever get that? I sure as shit hope so, but I don't think we're going to get anything quite like that in the near future, because with this defamation case and this emotional distress case being brought against her, I think it's best for all parties involved at the moment to just be very fucking quiet. I think the best we're going to get for right now is that Google Doc that is on his Instagram bio. And he did say, his last post on Instagram, he did say that a time will come where he will be able to talk about these things that have transpired over the last couple of years. I'm so anxious to hear his side, you know, because when you're doing something like this, when you're researching something, it is very biased to just look at one side of things. you really want to look at both sides as equally as possible, you know what I mean? So this is all of the information that we have right now on this case. It did seem to me that Evan is struggling quite a bit emotionally and psychologically with all of this. It seems like, you know, her traumas are really starting to affect her, and she just doesn't look like she's in the greatest headspace, you know what I mean? It's all very sad to watch. And, you know, I was talking about this with my therapist a couple days ago, and we were talking about how trauma works and how triggers work. And sometimes it's very hard to when you live with trauma and that PTSD, it's very hard to distinguish, you know, what's happening and what's actually happening and what you think is happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's all, your mind is very, very tricky in that way. Like, your triggers and the trauma, it's all just very tricky, and it's a lot to process. And I feel like that's kind of what Evan is going through right now. She's just very confused. She's very hurt. She's just struggling. I just feel like she's struggling, and like I can totally understand and sympathize with her, and I just feel so awful for her that this is happening, and I feel so awful for Marilyn Manson that this is happening. But if anything else happens, if we have new evidence that is presented, or criminal charges are brought, or trial hearings, etc., I can totally do more videos on that for sure if you guys would like me to. If you have any video ideas surrounding this case that you would like me to do, certain videos, please let me know down in the comments, because I definitely want to keep up on this, and I definitely want to keep, you know, hearing different facts and different evidence and things like that. I have been watching a lot of Colonel Kurtz here on YouTube. She's been doing a lot of Manson, Evan Rachel Wood videos. Now, she is a very biased person. She is definitely Team Manson. So it is kind of hard to listen to her videos in that way, because I don't want to look at it from one side or the other. I want to be an open book to both sides, but her videos have been pretty interesting. I've been watching a lot of her videos. I feel for Evan Rachel Wood. I feel for Marilyn Manson. I just want to hear more. Like, you know, I want to hear more about this. That pretty much summarizes episode 2. Like I said, it was kind of more focused on like her and her child in the second one, and I didn't really have much to say or have many thoughts on that, you know. Please let me know what you guys thought of the second episode if you have watched it. If you have not watched it and you feel comfortable enough, please go ahead and do so. And remember, of course, always make sure that you are looking after yourself and your mental health. So if these are the kind of things that you struggle to listen to, or you don't want to watch this type of video, I totally understand that. Please take care of yourself, take care of your mental health and your mind. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, I hate using that word for this kind of thing, enjoy. How the fuck do you enjoy something like this? If you guys if you liked seeing my face today, please go down and give this video a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, please go down and hit that red subscribe button so you do not miss out on any future videos. I do upload every 3 to 4, sometimes 5 days here, so make sure you hit that red subscribe button. But as the rest of you, I love you all oh so very much. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Bye.